Hello everyone, welcome back to TTP Sports, and we're gonna talk some hockey right now. We got a little guest right next to me. Say hello, Dave.
How you doing, everybody?
Well, it's almost time for the NHL season to start, and I want to get in some of my predictions for this upcoming season. So, do you have any predictions that you think are gonna happen or no? You a prediction guy?
I'm not a prediction guy offhand, but I'll follow what you're going to say, and I can add my 2 cents into everything.
Your 2 cents?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna start with the standings for a bit. So we're gonna go from the Western Conference, then we're gonna end in the Eastern Conference. So we're gonna start with the Central Division. I got the Winnipeg Jets at number 1, the Nashville Predators at 2, St. Louis Blues at 3, Colorado Avalanche at 4, and a wild card spot. I got the Dallas Stars also in the wild card spot, so I got both wild cards in the West going to the Central Division. And then I got Minnesota Wild at 6th. I see Minnesota going on a downfall this year because they got all these old players and injured players. So I really see Minnesota going on a downward spiral. And in Chicago, it really depends on the health of Corey Crawford. It was recently announced that he's ready for play, but is he going to remain healthy for the rest of the season? I have no idea. So it really depends on his play and whether he can stay healthy or not. Then we got the Pacific Division. This division is going to be very scary, honestly. San Jose, I originally had Vegas at number 1, but once San Jose acquired Carlson from Ottawa, they are going to be a dangerous team. That top 4 looks scary. So I got San Jose at 1, Vegas at 2, LA Kings at 3, Anaheim with that Corey Perry injury. They're getting old. I think they're going to miss the playoffs. Edmonton Oilers, they're going to be a little better from last season, but I still think they missed the playoffs because they're still missing some key pieces, especially on defense and a backup goaltender. Cam Talbot cannot play that many games like he did when they made the playoffs a couple years ago. Then you got Calgary. They still have a ton of problems. Then you got Arizona. I see them being a little bit better from last season because of that hot streak they got onto the end of the season, but I still see them near the bottom. Then you got Vancouver. There's really nothing to explain about Vancouver. They're just a bad team. But they got a good amount of rookies coming up, and I think they have some potential. Then we're going into the Atlantic. I got Tampa Bay at 1, not Toronto at 1, because everyone's on that hype after Tavares went to Toronto, actually. And I'm not on that hype wagon that Toronto is going to win the Stanley Cup. But they still have a lot of questionable keys on defense. I don't think Tavares is going to carry that team. Even though they have Matthews and Marner, they're not going to carry. They're not going to be enough. So I got Toronto at 2. I got Boston at 3. I got Florida riding off the hot streak from last season. I got them in 4th place in a wild card spot. Then I got Buffalo being a lot better than last year, acquiring Rasmus Dahlin. And I got Detroit at 6. I got Montreal at 7. And then I got the poor Ottawa Senators in 8th. And they have collapsed. They're far beyond collapse. They're horrible. I don't know what that team is doing. And they got rid of their first round pick this year. They gave it to Colorado. And if they finish last place, it's going to be the worst decision by that GM. I just don't understand what Ottawa's doing. And then we're going to go into the Metro Division. I see Pittsburgh getting off rest from being eliminated in the playoffs by the Capitals. I see them actually being in first place this year, getting some rest in the offseason. They're probably going to be a lot better. Then I got the Flyers at 2. I think the Flyers' offense can carry them a little bit, and then you got Ghost Despair, you got Provorov, you got I see improvement from Sanheim, and then the rest of the defense is really questionable. But then Brian Elliott, he's really going to be the starter this year, but then you got questionable with Anthony Stolarz, then you got the injured Michael Neuvert. I really don't know the questionable about that goaltending. I really see Stolarz being the backup the whole season. Who knows? Elliott's probably going to get injured, and both Neuvert's probably going to get injured again. So we might see Hart this season. So I see them Flyers battling for 2nd and 3rd place with the Washington Capitals. So I see Washington at 3rd right now. So Washington coming off that Stanley Cup. I see them getting a little bit of a hangover into the beginning of the season. That can affect them being in 1st place. So I have them at 3rd right now. Then we got the Columbus Blue Jackets in 4th place in a wild card spot. I see with the problems with Panarin and Bobrovsky, they're both going into their final years of their contract. They recently just stopped negotiations for extensions. I honestly do not see Columbus being a good team. Well, not really a bad team. They're going to be in the wild card. I really don't see them being as good as they were a couple of years ago. I really think the play of Bobrovsky will harm that because he's probably going to have that contract lingering over his head. I don't think Bobrovsky's going to have that great of a season. And he might not even stay with the team because I don't think Columbus can afford the contract he wants. So then we got the New Jersey Devils missing the playoffs after making it last year. I don't think the Devils are going to be a worse team. I think just both the Atlantic and the Metro Division are just going to be too tough to get a wild card spot out. Then you got the Carolina Hurricanes. Then you got the New York Rangers going into their rebuild. And then you got the poor New York Islanders, who probably are just going to be tanking for Jack Hughes. So what are your opinions on the standings, honestly?
I'm going to take it back to the Central Division. I think the Jets and Nashville are interchangeable. I think either one can finish 1 or 2. St. Louis, I don't know. Jake Allen.
I'm only saying St. Louis is getting better because they got some key acquisitions in the offseason.
Yeah, but I still
that can
think
help
it
them.
depends on Jake Allen. Jake Allen seems to have up and down throughout the year. Colorado could be a surprise because of their goaltending if Varlamov stays healthy.
Well, then now they got Varlamov and Grubauer's. I think
Right, so
Grubauer's
I
a
think-
better upgrade than Bernier.
Right, so I think with that, there's a chance Colorado can sneak up to third. I still think Jets and Nashville are your 1-2, whether it's Nashville, Jets, Nashville. Dallas, I'm still not sold on. Ben Bishop seems to get hurt a lot,
Yeah.
and they were supposed to be a good team last year, and they just didn't live up to their expectations, so we'll see about that. Now that they don't have, I like Jim Montgomery. There's another young coach coming in from college ranks.
I just think Ken Hitchcock's system didn't work for Dallas because they really have Klingberg as a top defender, and
Right.
Hitchcock is mainly a defensive type of guy, and they got Ben and Sagan, which are really big offensive threats.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Jim Montgomery's style is going to be, so that's a wait and see. I don't know. Chicago could surprise you. I mean, I know Cam Ward, the problems with injury. Crawford, but Cam Ward's there as a backup now. I know he's old, but he brings some experience, and he brings it to I think, a better team than he was with Carolina. So.
And Cam Ward tends to go on these hot streaks and cold streaks, so hopefully maybe he can do something, but it's on the hand of Corey Crawford, and Chicago's defense isn't the best. They signed Brandon Manning as a free agent. How is that going to help them?
Chicago always
Brandon
manages to be in the mix.
I know,
so.
but it's Brandon Manning.
Pacific Division, San Jose has always been good. I think they'll be better with Carlson. We'll see. Vegas is another. We'll see. I still think they have a good team. I don't know if they're going to be the same as they were last year. I think Vegas could end up being more of a wild card team. LA's got some question marks, only because
I really only say LA makes the playoffs mainly because of their defense and Jonathan
Yeah.
Quick. Their offense is
they
really
always have a hard time scoring goals.
yeah.
Anaheim,
Even though they added Kovalchuk,
yeah.
I don't see them helping them.
Anaheim's, with the injury to Perry, and like you said, they are getting older. But they're a tough team. Edmonton could surprise you too. I understand you can't have Talbot playing every game, but I believe they have this young, I think it's a Russian goaltender, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he's going to be the backup though. I think they're saying it's Montoya.
Now Montoya got waived.
Oh, he did?
As far as I
I did not know that.
I believe that is what they said the other day. I believe they're going with this younger, and then again, I believe it's a Russian goaltender. I'm not really sure. Calgary, Mike Smith, he gets injured a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they could ride the coattails of Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah,
And a
Gaudreau,
couple of the other
Monahan.
plays.
Gaudreau and Monahan are not going to carry that team.
And then you got Arizona. Just seems to be. They just seem to. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the situation they're in with their team and their city, and they just seem never to get over the hump. And Vancouver, with the Sedin's retiring.
Yeah.
I think that's just going to be a rebuild for them.
I know they got Patterson coming up, but I don't think he's enough. I know they got Brock Besser, who surprised a lot of people last year. I didn't expect Besser to be that good. Well, even though I didn't even know who Brock Besser was before the season started last year, so he surprised a lot of people, but they don't have the goaltending, they don't have defense. And Pedersen, I think he's going to have a good season, but it's not going to help the Vancouver Canucks at all.
Your Atlantic Division, I believe Tampa's still your team to beat. Toronto, I'm still not sold on their goaltending.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. I'm just
You're-
not a Frederick Anderson fan.
You're Anderson hater, you know.
I'm not a hater, but I don't know. I just don't
You're just
believe in him for some
Is he
reason.
too inconsistent for you?
Yeah, it's one of the things. It's
Yeah.
just
I mean, like the argument you could say it's defense in front of him, but that Game 7 in Boston, he kind of blew it, but it was also kind of Morgan Riley's fault.
right. Boston will be right up there again. Boston's pretty much got some
It's the same exact team.
same
basically.
exact team. There's a few new guys. I watched
Yeah.
the game the other day, a couple of the games the other day. They have a few guys that seem to be stepping it up.
Mhm.
Florida is going to depend on Luongo.
Mhm.
If Luongo doesn't play well, if Luongo gets hurt, Florida they just don't have anything else.
Is Reimer their backup still?
That I'm not sure of.
Because I know they acquired Hoffman from that big trade
Right.
between San Jose and Ottawa, so he can help their offense a little bit, but not much.
Buffalo's going to be improved. Detroit, I think they're probably in a rebuild. Montreal, I just think is a mess.
Yeah.
And Ottawa, I don't know.
There's-
Does Ottawa just play and win some games because they're just trying to prove something? I don't know that case.
I would assume they hope to win games because they kind of can't rely on a first-round pick
Right.
because that's Colorado. So if they end up getting last place in Colorado, that's Jack Hughes to Colorado.
Metro Division. It's a tough division to predict. Pittsburgh, Murray has to play better.
Mhm.
I mean, I know the offense is there, with Crosby and Malkin,
Like-
Kessel.
I don't think Murray's the best goaltender in the world, but he has shown that he can play when the games matter.
Right.
And I know last season he went through injury and the horrible thing with his father passing away, so that was on his mind a lot.
But I still think he's got to prove himself again.
Yeah.
The Flyers, offense is going to be very tough. They can have three tough lines.
Mhm.
It's the first time in a while, being a Philadelphia fan, that I've seen where their top three lines could possibly put up a lot of points.
When was the last time you saw that?
It's been a while.
It was definitely before I was born.
Yeah. The fourth line is dependent on who's going to be in. It sounds like it's going to be Lawton, Wheel,
And
possible
Raffle.
Laterra.
I think
and-
Raffle over
and
Rattera.
Raffle. It sounds like from what indications that I've heard
Look,
is Laterra may play against teams when they need a tough penalty kill, and Wheel may play against when they need some speed in the lineup.
I still don't understand how this whole cocaine ring situation is going to go on. I don't know why Hextall didn't just cut him. Just I don't want this on the team. I just don't want this.
Or maybe he just knows things that are not being reported yet. I mean, that's the only thing that you have to go by.
Hextall is very secretive.
Washington is still going to be tough.
Yeah. I'm not saying they're going to be that bad. I'm just saying they're going to be on, I think, a little bit of a hangover.
And I think this issue with Tom Wilson now, he's going off the deep end now, the way he's hitting people, and he's a very good player, but I think he has that side of him that if he doesn't get away from that, every time he goes on the ice now, he's going to be either targeted or the referees are going to keep an eye out on him.
Let alone that hit was a preseason game.
Yeah.
Why would he do that in preseason? I don't know. It's Tom Wilson.
So, Columbus is dependent on Bobrovsky.
Yeah. That's the main reason why I don't think they're as
Bob
good.
is a strong goaltender during the year. Hasn't proven himself in the playoffs yet, but that's still a it's a good choice for a wild card. I think New Jersey can beat out one of these teams, all dependent on Schneider.
Yeah.
I believe he's still hurt. He's not making the initial road trip I believe they're going on. So that's from what I read. So that's all dependent on how Schneider gets back.
I know Kincaid went on that big stretch getting him into the playoffs last year, but Kincaid is not a good goaltender. He got a hot streak, and then once the playoffs started, he went cold.
I'll leave New York Rangers, New York Islanders down at the bottom because I just think they're two teams that are going to be in a rebuilding mode. Carolina could surprise somewhere down the road. I think with Brendan Moore as a coach, Brendan Moore is going to bring a no-nonsense approach, and he could turn that team around.
I only put Carolina so far down is because of their goaltending. Scott Darling did not have a great season last year being their starter, and he had a platoon situation where they started with Mrazek. And you know how Mrazek played when he was with the Flyers.
But it's funny, you can go through every one of these teams, and literally everything rides on their goaltending.
Mm.
As much as the offense that they have or the defense that they have, everything's going to ride on anybody. It's the same thing with the Flyers. The Flyers' issue is going to be their goaltending
Yeah.
until whether Hart becomes permanently
Up on the team.
or I think with Hextall waiving 2 players today instead of 1, there's a possibility they could pick up a goaltender. There's 2 goaltenders out there that have always been, or at least one of them has always been thought of being picked up by the Flyers, and that's Calvin Pickard. He was waived along with, I believe, Curtis McElhenney. But Pickard has always been sort of mentioned as Hextall maybe picking him up, and that's a possibility that maybe picks him up tomorrow just to be a backup.
Just to have an extra goaltender.
Well, it's not necessarily an extra goaltender. I think right now he's not confident that he has a backup.
I mean, Stolar's looked really good in preseason besides that one game in Lehigh Valley.
But I think he might be looking for somebody with experience. And that maybe, you got to realize Neuvert and Elliott's contracts are both up this year.
Mhm.
Whether they get injured or not, that's not the question.
Yeah.
But
And you also got Leinert.
if you got Hart coming in eventually to be your number 1, you might want to have a veteran backup for him.
So not like a Leinert or Stolar as a backup.
Not yet. I think you need a veteran guy there to support him, and then once he gets fully entrenched into the position, then you could bring in a guy like Lyon or Stolars.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. Why do you waive 2 players when you don't need to waive 2 players?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I want to go back on the Columbus topic because I really think that whole season rides on the thoughts of Panarin being traded or not resigning with the team, or Bobrovsky. I still think that contract can linger in Bobrovsky's head, like, oh, they never resigned me.
Right.
Like, I gotta play off my ass right now. I gotta be good, and I gotta be Vezina quality, and that might affect him. And with Panarin, there's rumors that he might be traded coming trade deadline, honestly. Right. And he stated that if I were traded, I would want to go to the Rangers. But if he goes into free agency, I still see him going back to Chicago. Yeah. I see him going back with Patrick.
Yeah, that team's going to be tough for them to
and like that could possibly affect the entire team.
Possibly lose those 2 players.
We lose our 2 best players.
Get nothing in return.
Yeah.
So I think you might, to be honest with you, if Bobrovsky's contract is not negotiated during the year, I won't be surprised if he's traded towards the trade
Columbus
deadline.
is doing that.
Somebody needs a goaltender, and they don't think they're going to get anything in return. You just think you're going to lose him via free agency. There's always that chance that he can get packaged in a major deal. Does Panarin and him get packaged? That's something that remains to be seen.
I know Bob was a really good goaltender in the season. He just is a choker in the playoffs.
I don't know if it's necessarily a choker.
It's just been the past, every time he plays in the first round with Columbus against Pittsburgh, and then this past season against Washington, Columbus had a 2-0 series lead, and they blew that. And going to Pittsburgh, he was allowing a ton of goals against Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh is a top-end offense, but he's a good goaltender. That's Vezina quality. He should be able to stop that team.
He might just panic.
Probably.
That's my.
I know. A lot of people said that was probably it probably was the worst trade by Holmgren, but if you look at it, he hasn't had any kind of playoff success. Like Vezina trophies are one thing.
Well, Holmgren's hands were tied. A lot of people don't understand that they signed Brizgalov to an 8-year contract. Bobrovsky wanted to be a starter. He wasn't going to be a starter with an 8-year contract with Brizgalov, so he forced the Flyers' hand, and Holmgren thought that was the best deal. He got, I guess he got Couturier out of that deal, right? I'm not sure if that was the deal or not. I don't remember exactly.
I think he got Voracek out of that deal, and no, did he?
I don't remember exactly.
I know. I think they got a first-round pick for something. I forget who it was. I know they got Voracek somehow in a trade from Columbus.
Right. Well, that was,
and then that first-round pick eventually turned into
That was a Jeff Carter trade.
Yeah, Jeff Carter got Voracek and Couturier.
Right.
Wasn't
so
Bobrovsky.
I'm not sure what Bobrovsky netted him.
I think Bobrovsky just got them like a second-round pick or something. They didn't give him much.
That was just his hands were tied. So I mean, a lot of people blame him for that, but you were going to have an unhappy backup, and he felt that was the best thing to do. They thought Brizgalov was going to be their goaltender for 8 years,
and it didn't happen.
That was what, 2012.
2012, yeah. And
so that means if Brizgalov still was playing,
he'd be playing
right now.
Yeah.
So, but that's the.
So imagine Brizgalov playing right now. He doesn't have a team right now, and he's still getting paid by the Flyers.
So that's really what went on. So
Then out of the standings, I'm gonna talk about the trophy nominees and possibly cup champions. So I'm gonna go President's Trophy. I'm gonna go Winnipeg Jets. Like my dad said, it's either or with Nashville and Winnipeg, but I think Winnipeg just right now they're younger and they have a lot better team, and they got Connor Hellebuck that just proved himself last year as being a top goaltender in this league. I think Winnipeg can really shine and win the President's Trophy. Hart Trophy, that was a tough one to pick because out of last year's results, and then I think Nathan McKinnon's going to win the Hart Trophy this year just because he should have won it last year, but he was injured a lot. And then that ended up going to Taylor Hall, who did have that impressive point streak in whatever games they called it, because it wasn't technically a point streak, it was a points in consecutive games. So I guess he was injured for stretches of that. And then Art Ross, obviously McDavid. He's won the Art Ross for the past couple seasons, so I don't expect him to die down in that. Selke Trophy was questionable for me. It all depends on the health of Sean Couturier, because I believe Sean Couturier can win the Selke this year. It depends on his health with his leg, because he's had some soreness with that this year in the preseason, and hopefully he can stay healthy. I still believe he can win that. But
I
then
still
if not,
think he's got he scored 31 goals or whatever it was last year.
30-something.
He's got to prove it again that he can do it again. If it
And
wasn't
then-
just a 1 year thing where he got hot and scored an amount of goals, if he can score the same amount of goals again, which is a possibility because, like I said before, the Flyers are going to have 3 tough lines. They're going to be able to put up some points. So if he could do that again, and his defense is always there, he can definitely. I think the second time around, last year they look at it and they say, okay, well, this is the first year he really started
he's got to
scoring.
prove himself again.
If he proves himself again a second time, then you'll see a lot more people vote for him.
So if Couturier has troubles with health, or he just doesn't have that standout season like he did last year, but his defensive game's always going to be good, it's just that point total. I think Bergeron's going to win the Selke, like that bias toward him. So Norris Trophy, I think Erik Karlsson's going to come back and win the Norris Trophy this year because that San Jose defense top 4 looks deadly with Brett Burns, Erik Karlsson, Vlasic, and who was the other defenseman on their team in their top 4?
I'm not even sure.
Yeah, whatever it is, their top 4.
West Coast, I don't get to see that much, so
Yeah.
it's.
Whatever it is, those top 3 defensemen are going to look really good for that team. So I think Karlsson is going to really help with that. And then Vezina, I'm going to give to Connor Hellebuck because he really proved himself last season. And if the Jets can end up winning a President's Trophy and he has a standout season, I believe he's going to win the Vezina because he was a candidate last year. And then I'm going to go for the Stanley Cup. This is not definite. I'm just going to, because of all the predictions that are going with Winnipeg this year, I'm going to give the Jets the Cup just because of how stacked their team is, how stacked their forwards are, the blue line, and the goaltending. I just believe Winnipeg, it's their time, and they have to win now. And they're probably going to be better for the future, but I still think the Cup goes to Canada this year with Winnipeg. So,
Okay, yeah, I really don't have a pick. I don't get a feel for any of the teams yet. I think every team has question marks.
yeah.
Again, if you want to pick a team from Canada, Toronto would be another pick from individuals. Again, I don't believe in their goaltending. I may be wrong.
Who, Winnipeg or?
Toronto.
Oh, Toronto.
Toronto's goaltending. I don't know. It's something with Frederick Anderson just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I'm not on that Toronto hype wagon. I understand Toronto. You got all that hype from Tavares coming in. I just don't see this team winning a cup. Like they could in the future, not now. They need better defense.
Yeah, but based off of last year, I think a team like Vegas is. I think they're going to get knocked out early. As good as I think they are still, I think a lot of teams will be gunning for them out in the West. I think they're going to be battling. San Jose is going to be tougher. LA could be tougher. I think Kovalchuk will add something to that.
He's gonna. I don't think he's gonna put LA over the top, but he could add something to that team. But I see Vegas getting knocked down in the second round.
I think Edmonton, depending on their goaltending situation, when they have McDavid and Draisaitl, could put up some numbers, but that's another goaltending situation.
Yeah. You can't have Talbot playing 70+
Washington
games.
is basically got the same team. I don't know why they
They
couldn't make a run for it.
Don't they? I think.
But the key there, Washington, is the coach.
Yeah. Don't they have a different backup because they traded Grabauer?
Yeah,
they have this.
it's the young Russian guy.
Samsonov coming over from Russia. He's like the top goaltending prospect in the NHL.
But the
over
key
Carter
there,
Hart, sadly.
the key there is the coaching. Will the new coach, the assistant coach that Reardon, come in and
Is it
be
going
able
to
to take
change?
this team?
Is it going to like change their style of play? Definitely. Or is he just going to feed off of Barry
Yeah.
Trotz's
Pittsburgh is
system?
always going to be there. I think Tampa Bay is always there. So I think it's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah. It's going to be. We can look back on this, and a lot of things could be different. So you can see Florida in last place. You can see Colorado in first place in the Central. You can see Anaheim just proving everyone wrong, and they win the Pacific. And you can see, out of all teams, the Carolina Hurricanes winning the Metro, even though that's very unbelievable.
I think you got your top teams in each division. I just see once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. You've seen that every year.
Yeah.
It just takes one injury, one bad performance by a goaltender. You know, one team that just is dominant over another team, and it just changes the whole scenario.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's all for this video. Thank you, Dad, for coming on here. So
Sure, I'll be back.
for more Flyers videos. So don't forget to leave a comment and opinions in the comment section about what you think the NHL predictions are going to be this season. And don't forget that subscribe button, and see you guys in the next video.